Welcome to the TNT Forum. We pulled this together, this presentation together fairly quickly because last weekend Craig and Bill and I did a National Parks on the Air activation. I was so excited about it, I thought maybe we should come and talk about it. We really had a great time. So we'll talk about National Parks on the Air and why we had such a great time. Craig is going to show the equipment that we use for one of these activations, and where's Bill? Bill can talk about his contributions to this and his observations as we go through. So here's the question. Would you like to be on the receiving end of a DXpedition-like pileup within about 20 miles of your own home? If that's what you'd like, you should do a National Parks on the Air activation. If the answer is yes, this should be for you. So literally, we're out in the Manassas National Battlefield Park, and we start calling CQ Parks on the Air, and we are just barraged by contacts. So in a very short period of time, we racked up a lot of contacts. It was really a lot of fun, and everybody wanted to talk to us, and it was really great. So what's National Parks on the Air all about? It's an amateur radio program that's being done in conjunction with the National Park Service to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the establishment of the National Park Service. And what they're trying to do is to get hams across the United States to activate every national park in the U.S. To promote both the National Park Service, but of course to showcase amateur radio and how it all works. So I got a series of maps here just to give you a sense for where all the national parks are. So this is there's a website where you can see all the national parks, and it also has overlaid on it the information that's relevant to National Parks on the Air. This is a link that Craig provided. And you can see literally that the national parks start way out here in the Pacific Islands, Hawaii, up through Alaska, and then all across the United States. But what's really great for us is that if you zoom in on the Washington, D.C. area, you can see starting out west here, this is just north of Manassas, so this is out in the area where we were last weekend. But we've got national parks starting down here along the Potomac in Maryland, right on up the river, all the way up in this direction, and then the whole central Washington, D.C. area is just jammed with parks. And zooming in even closer, there's some real sensitive areas, for example, in Arlington National Cemetery, but less sensitive areas along the river. Believe it or not, the Kennedy Center is considered a national park. Woodstock is a national park where you can easily set up stations along the mall and some little small parks throughout the DC area. So for us, we're really lucky in that we can haul our gear out, set up a radio station, and be a park on the air. So what are the rules? The rules are actually pretty straightforward. This thing runs a whole year. It started at midnight on New Year's Day. Craig was out there on New Year's Day starting it off with his first activation. I already listed the goals. It's open to any U.S. licensed amateur, and as far as administration goes, it's all being managed through Logbook of the World. So one thing you do have to do is you have to have a Logbook of the World account. When you go out and make your contacts, we keep track of them. I kept track of my contacts in N1MM. You were using
N1MM.
Yeah. So and then you just download the N1MM file, and then there's a little procedure that's easily found online for uploading the contacts, and before you know it, you have your contacts made. Eligible National Park Service units are found like in this map that I just showed you, but also on the ARRL site. And you can work any mode. You can work CW, you can work sideband, you can work the digital mode. So they're looking for people to do a little bit of everything. So when you activate a site, again, it's really pretty straightforward. You just have to be on the site. In order to get credit for an activation, you have to make 10 QSOs. And at the rate we were going, once we started going, 10 minutes maybe? I mean, actually less than that, because they were rolling in at more than, they're like 2 or 3 contacts a minute, so it doesn't take long to get to 10. You upload the logs to Logbook of the World. It says, do it as soon as practical. And part of the reason that everybody's calling you, of course, is they're trying to make as many points as they can, and so they really need you to acknowledge the contact. Interestingly enough, you can't put yourself in an airplane and fly over a national park and get credit for doing that. So no aeronautical mobile. You have to, if you leave a National Park Service, you can't reactivate it until you've been out of the park for 24 hours. So it prevents people from triple and double dipping from the same park. If an activator fails to make the 10 required QSOs for the credit, the chaser still gets. So if you made nine contacts, you wouldn't get credit for the activation, but for those 9 people who contacted you, they would get credit for you being there. They ask that you document the presence in the National Park unit, so with photos, or take a picture of your GPS, or the National Park Service has this little stamp system you get. They just want some sort of a verification that you were there. And sort of the miscellaneous requirements, there's a list there. I basically summarize them by saying behave yourself and follow the park rules and be nice. So fairly straightforward. There's some interesting certificates and awards that are associated with this. So there's an activator award. It's really easy. Activate a park and you get the award. And then there's a chaser award given for working at least one National Park Service unit. So it's not complicated. If you contact somebody in a park, you get a nice certificate for just that one QSO that's been verified within Logbook of the World. And then you can move on for more things. There's a thing called the National Parks Honor Roll. That's for an amateur who confirms QSOs with 75% of the 59 National Park Service units. So those are for people who are out there really trying to do something. And then what's called a 5-star activator. And there's this whole long list of things that you can do. If you do if you do 5 of any of these in the list, so it's media publicity, public information table, youth and scouting event. So I'd like to get my Boy Scouts out on one of these things, and I think once they get out there, they're going to find out what a lot of fun it is. Sending a radio e-message, some type of emergency communications message, activating a digital mode, setting up green power. So you'll see in some photos in a minute that we actually had our batteries and solar power set up, so we got our green power award last time we were out. Battery power, social media. Intrepid Traveler is somebody who's gone to 5 parks. Stamp collector, so like this National Park Service stamp collecting thing that I mentioned a minute ago. Share the mic is basically, and we had people come walking through looking at us saying, what are you guys doing here? And it's an opportunity to get somebody new to amateur radio on the air. So just if somebody, the idea is if some stranger comes walking through and says, what's up? You just hand them the mic and say, have fun. And even if you get an EME contact, I guess, you get an award for that one as well. So if activation isn't your cup of tea, if you aren't crazy like us and want to go out to a park and set up a radio station, you can make contacts from anywhere using remote stations. You have to make claims within only one DXCC entity. So if you go somewhere else, you have to basically start all over again. You can make the contacts, but you have to start at a clean list if you move around the world. And if you use a club call, the credit goes to the club awards as opposed to you. So if we were using K4HTA, we wouldn't get any credit for making those calls. When we were there, we were each using our respective calls so that we got credit for the awards. So so that's just kind of all the introductory stuff. What we wanted to do now is move over to Craig, who's going to present a discussion on how you actually set up a station. So Craig has got his little Go Pack here and his batteries. So I'm going to pass it over to Craig, and he's going to tell you how he sets up a station to have a good time in an activation. So.
Thanks, Leon. The slide up here you can see on the left, the image there, that was New Year's Day. It wasn't really warm. I wasn't interested in frostbite, and my wife actually let me take the RV and go down to Prince William Forest. So I went as big as taking the whole RV with me. I took my 897 from the house, a power supply, 100 watts, the whole thing. I've learned. I say that, but I'm going to repeat it this weekend. The last 2 activations, I went out to Manassas Battlefield, and I took this. This is really all I took. I took that because it had some stuff in it that I needed, but this is what I operated from. And on Sunday, I'm going to activate 4 different parks in one day. It's not hard. I'll tell you the secret to it. And it's all going to be from here, because in here I've got an 817 to work QRP. I've got a buddy pole antenna. I've got a battery, headset. The only thing that won't fit in here is a tablet computer, because I am too lazy to ever do a paper log again. I did a paper log for Bill back in January, and there were 176 contacts on it. it killed me to have to type all those in because I had to go back and do the time, the frequency, the call sign. Yeah, not again. Sorry, I'm going to do the digital means. But really, all it takes is an HT because 2 meters is eligible. Now it's going to take a little more work on your part because you know you can't use repeaters, so it's got to be simplex. That'll be a little harder. But I really would like to try to make a 2 meter contact. So this summer when we go up to Shenandoah and we'll tie it in with a soda, we'll be able to make some 2 meter contacts and actually activate the park. What's on the next slide? Technology is my friend.
That was a description.
Yeah, so that's this just shows there's on the ARRL NPOTA website. It's got a lot of really good information. You can see how you're doing. I believe Bill and I are tied for 40 something place in the state for activations with only 2, which is not bad. It goes to 5, and the next guy above that's got 20 something parks. Not sure I'm going to make that this year. There is one guy who's got over 100 parks already. He's retired and he just came back from a 3,000-mile drive, a big circle out west. I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to do that. But this, you can go and check and see how you're doing. On the left is the activators. On the right are the chasers. I have exactly 1 contact as a chaser. It happened by accident last weekend. Set the radio up, tuned it, turned it on, heard a guy yakking. I just wanted to talk to him. Turns out he was activating a park in Michigan. So we had a park-to-park contact. We should get credit for that, right? It should be special. And a whole bunch of pictures there. Leon mentioned the things that Bill brings to this. What Bill brings to this, I'm not kidding you. I got on the radio that morning, CQ, blah, 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 for 10 minutes. Nothing. I set the mic down. Bill picked it up. He didn't even say CQ and people were calling him. He has a velvet voice. People love to talk to him. And they call him from everywhere. Back in January, I think those on the repeater, on the reflector for MPOTA, you may have seen, Bill made a trans-equatorial contact on 10 meters to Brazil. This guy was calling him. Like, hey, I heard Bill Mims on the air, let me call him. Last weekend, he made contact in the Azores. He was trying to chat up some young lady in Germany, but she wasn't going to have anything to do with it. But we were out there, had a great time, except for the wind. And once that died down and we were in the sun a little bit, it was a lot more fun. Bill, how many contacts did you guys end up making?
I only had like 56 or 60, somewhere between.
At 63.
Okay. I had 1. My fun that weekend was having Leon come out because we were going to try to have some scouts come out. They bailed, so we decided, the big kids are going to go play. And the fun there was actually getting set up and being able to work this so people could have a good time. I think I said a few months ago when we first mentioned this, and I've said on the reflector, if I'm going somewhere to do a park, come along. If you don't want to bring anything other than your sense of humor, come along, I'm going to put you in front of a radio because I'm just as happy sitting next to you logging for you as I am doing a talk to myself. Now, I said this weekend I'm going to activate 5 parks. I'm going to activate 4 parks at one time this weekend. We're going to go out to Harper's Ferry. On one side of the river, you've got the Appalachian Trail and you've got Harper's Ferry. So I can get 2 there. If I walk across the bridge, I'm now on the C&O Canal, the Appalachian Trail, and the Potomac Scenic, I forgot what else it's called. Potomac Scenic Trail. It runs up the Potomac, and basically it runs across the C&O Canal the whole distance. So I'm going to sit there and activate 3 parks at one time.
It's a heritage trail, right?
Potomac Heritage Trail, that's it. You go down to the National Mall. Now in the mall, a lot of these sites are sensitive. There's a couple of them, I don't know why, the White House is extremely sensitive. So you take some coordination for those, but most of the sites along the National Mall, they count as what we call a twofer. Because you've got the National Mall and you've got the specific site, the World War II Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument. So you can actually rack up a whole bunch of parks pretty quick. And how do you do it? Walking HF, I've heard about it, never tried it, not sure I like the idea, but it would be something to give some thought to. you can go down to Prince William, you can get a twofer down there because you've also got the Potomac Heritage Trail that runs through there. I guess the biggest thing is it's an opportunity to get out, play with the radio, and as Leon alluded to at the beginning, once somebody spots you out, you better be ready, because when you call CQ and you say MPOTA, people are gonna jump on you like a bunch of sharks. It is so much fun. It is so much fun because we've all heard it. We've all heard some unique DX station come up and everybody's calling. You're like, how the heck does that person do this? You get to do it for real. And the best thing about it is nobody on the other end gets angry. Nobody gets upset. They don't get impatient. You know, it's a lot of fun. I believe his name is Sean Cusco. He's the new PR guy for ARRL. I watched an interview with him the other night, and this is turning into something that ARRL didn't even imagine. They spent about 1.5 years putting this together.
My question is, you've already activated Manassas Battlefield Park in four places or 4 times. Does that preclude somebody else, another hand, from doing
Absolutely not,
Manassas?
because it's your activation the next time. This activation only counts for me.
Oh, they go by call sign.
They go by call sign, yep. They do keep stats, and they haven't released the stats for February yet. I figure it'll be next week or the week after. They do keep stats of what parks have been activated the most. The AT is the most activated park there is so far. In the month of January, there were 75,000 something QSOs for National Parks on the Air. They've got all these stats, but that's why I say, Sean said it's actually turned into something they never even imagined, because it's getting so many hams out and having so much fun. A couple other interesting rules. It's not a contest. You can do it all week long. You know, there's a gentleman's agreement that you don't contest during the week. This isn't a contest. Go out on Tuesday afternoon. My work is about 3 blocks from GW Parkway. I'm gonna walk down the street and activate GW Parkway at lunch probably, because I'm in a big hurry to get home when I leave work. And 400, I think the number is 438 unique sites across the country. They just added, they're still adding some. They added 2 or 3 more just last month. So it's about as much fun as you could ever have with the radio, I think. It has been for me. And the amazing thing is this weekend, my wife is gonna participate. So she's gonna go out and she may get on the radio, HF, for the first time. I'll be excited to see that. If you're interested, I'm gonna be around the QRP watering hole on 20 meters. I'm gonna start on 10 because I wanna work somewhere where the technician class licenses can find me. So I'm gonna hit the 2 HF bands with technician class privileges for single sideband, because I don't do Morse. That's Mike back there. He's doing Morse for us. He's the activator on Morse lately. And then I'm gonna move to 20 because I've become a fan of 20 meters. I'm hitting all over the country in as little as 2.5 watts on 20 meters, and it's a lot of fun. So if you're out there and you give me a shout, let me know. You know, I'll take your contact, and then you get to be a chaser as well. If anyone is interested in going out to Harper's Ferry on Sunday, let me know. You just see me at a meeting or something. Like I say, I'm just gonna walk down the trail and find a convenient place to sit where I can put my antenna against something to hold it up and start making contacts. I might be there an hour. The way it worked the last time I was at Manassas, I could be there 20 minutes. I made 19 contacts in 20 minutes the first time I activated Manassas. And then I got too cold, and I had to call it a day because my fingers wouldn't work anymore. So, does anybody have any questions about National Parks on the Air?
Is this all posted on the ARRL or is it on the National Park Service?
It's actually on the ARRL website. If you just Google NPOTA, you'll find about 6 different links to the National Parks website, National Parks on the Air website on ARRL.
Okay.
Leon had a link to a graphic. I believe that link is also on the ARRL website. If you can't find it, let me know. That link also has all the SOTA locations in North America. So if you're interested in Summits on the Air or National Parks on the Air, you got that link as well.
I remember camping at Skyline Drive. Unfortunately, I didn't have a rig with me, but I was looking at these trees and yeah,
Great antenna.
But technically or officially, I think they don't want you putting any lines over the trees, you might damage the branches, but, someone told me, you can talk to the what do they call the guy in charge?
Rangers.
Rangers, not the warden, the rangers. And, then if you like shift or didn't want a good day or they'll let you do it. And I said, oh, that might be worth it, cause
Yep.
an inverted V up 40 feet, really, that's pretty good.
Yep. In the activator's guide on the ARRL website, they've got some information about, and you're absolutely right, parks don't like you to go out and attach anything to any wildlife or flora and fauna. They don't like generators. I called ahead this last time for Manassas because if we're gonna take some Boy Scouts out, we got a little bigger crowd, so we wanna make sure. The guy was so cool, and he was the guy who actually drove by and came out to see what this weirdo was doing 2 weeks before, so we were already good. They didn't, what did he say? Yeah, I don't care about it, just don't burn the place down, is what he said. And because we were still gonna have scouts, I said, it's okay, we're bringing Boy Scouts, we can fix it. And he did exactly that, he thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, no generators, leave nothing but footprints, clean up. The big thing is to be polite, be nice to the park staff, because they do talk. And right now, they're getting a lot of good discussion, very positive discussion about amateur radio operators in their parks, in their areas. And when you talk to them and tell them, I'm doing this to celebrate you, you start making some friends. I now know that I can go out to Manassas Battlefield Park, and I could probably get away with a lot of stuff because I've been nice to them. So, other questions?
I had a similar experience, but where'd you get the nice banner? Because that's a big PR thing.
ARRL. I bought it through them. I meant to wear my Impoda t-shirt tonight, and I believe Steven is gonna be ordering me a ball cap, because I have to protect my head. I don't have natural protection, so I'm gonna get a ball cap. Also on the banner, if anyone is gonna go out and activate a park and you've got a place where you can put the banner that was in another picture, let me know. I mean, it's mine, I share. So we can meet up, you can take it and put it up, because it really is kind of cool to advertise. Jacek?
Do you have an experience with activating sensitive sites? What do you know what is the procedure?
We are working to try to activate, what's it called? Wolf Trap. Wolf Trap is listed as a sensitive site. The best thing you do, I have found that they do not answer their phone and they do not respond to email. So I left a voicemail and I got a call back. But what I'm gonna start doing for the other parks, the other places I wanna activate, I work close enough to the National Park Service office, I'm gonna go to their office. Or I'm gonna find the office for the park I wanna activate, I'm gonna go talk to them, introduce myself. There's a flyer on the ARRL website that's made for park staff. Print it, take it and give it to them. Explain what you're doing. Show them that we wanna have the least impact possible on their park, but we wanna put them on the air. We wanna advertise them. How can they refuse? It's free advertising. And again, it just goes back to the big thing, be as polite as possible. If you think you should get permission, do. I didn't ask anybody who went up to Prince William. Prince William's pretty open. That's fine. It'd be like going to Skyline Drive in Shenandoah. I'm just gonna go to a turnout, I'm gonna be out of the way, I'll set up and operate, and I'll disappear.
So, I went out to Wolf Trap and I started talking about this to the guy at the information office, and he took me to the chief ranger, who was very friendly, but said, I never heard about this before. How come I never heard about this before? So I showed him the website and asked him a few questions, and we've had a couple of email exchanges, but he's never said, sure, come on out. But when I said to him what we were gonna do and asked him, is there any chance we could plug in and get some power? Because then we could run a higher power radio. He didn't have any objections to that. He said that he would try to help us out. Now, unbeknownst to me, while I was doing that, I had him occupied in his office. Mike was over there with his CW rig, making contacts.
Yeah, I talked to one of the rangers that just came by, and I spoke with her, and told her what I was gonna do, and I didn't have the flyer, that would've been handy. And she said, yeah, that sounds good, and she wrote it all down and just left me alone, so.
Yeah. At Manassas, the ranger who came by to see us had not been told, he doesn't normally work on Saturdays, he had not been told that we would be there. So he just stopped by because he's got a bunch of, like I say, a bunch of wackadoodles with things up in the air. Super friendly guy. I almost had him talk to me getting on the radio, but Bill wouldn't be quiet. So I love giving Bill grief about that. The first time when we went to
At Riverbend Park, you're talking about strings in the trees, right? I have a rotted dipole that I use, and I went down there and talked to the guys at the Riverbend Parks where I set up for the Heritage Trail and told them what I wanted to do, and so we don't let people tie to trees. And I said, well, it's just this little string, and I showed him.
Oh.
And he said, yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah.
So,
It's just gonna depend on the park.
yeah.
I can guarantee you down on the National Mall, they're not gonna be super friendly. They're not gonna be easy to work with. So you're gonna have to charm the pants off of them.
Should we get bail money ready?
If you did, I would really appreciate it. No, you really just have to convince them that you're there to do something to advertise them, and you are gonna do nothing to hurt anything that they own. Because, you know, they don't even like you to walk on the grass in some places. God forbid you should put a spike in the ground. I have not had to deal with a special access permit. The lady I first talked to in Manassas said we would. The ranger's like, you less than 25 people, don't worry about it. So that may come up. So make sure they understand it's a small group. You're not selling, you're not advertising, you're not, what's that word, proselytizing? You know, you're there on the radio making contacts on their behalf.
Can you operate mobile, like in your car, or even bicycle mobile?
I've seen people doing bicycle mobile as activators in the park. So yes, mobile might be a little harder. I don't think the rules prohibit it.
No, mobile on the ground is fine. Aero mobile is what's
Yeah,
not allowed.
aero mobile. I think you could probably be a chaser aero mobile, but not an activator.
Yeah.
So,
And your correspondent could be air, perhaps.
sorry?
Your correspondent could be air.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure somebody flying along, if they got nothing else to do, like fly an airplane, sure, get on the radio. So that would be a possibility. Any other questions? Because we're just about out of time.
You said there were 400 some national parks, is that what you mean?
400, and if our number's correct, it's 438 administrative units is what they call them.
Oh, right.
None of them are national parks. That's something to keep in mind. National parks are owned by the Forestry or Department of Forestry. So they're not national parks. These are all National Park Service administrative units. And they've got a couple different ways to figure out which ones you're looking for, which ones you want to activate on that website. So that's the difference.
So you can't just look at a national park map and say, I'm in a national park.
You could, I mean, pretty much all of them are active,
yeah.
but what the thing you need is that there's a alphanumeric code for each one.
And you have to figure that out before you can.
Yeah.
Right.
And actually, if you register with them, you'll have people looking for you.
Yes, that's the important. There's a couple different things. I'm gonna finish this up real quick because I'm getting the hook signed. They have a Facebook page where they advertise when you're gonna activate and what frequency you're on. I think that's the biggest fishing hole people are using because that's where the frequency goes. They're using Twitter. Sean's begging people to use Twitter. If you go to the National Park to the IMPOTA website on ARRL, you can list your activation and it shows for the next 10 days what place you're gonna be active. So you'll see there's 4 different places listed for me on Sunday morning. You know, and that people see that and then they're gonna go and try to find that. Because if they wanna get Mount Zion Park, that's where they're gonna find out it's being activated. Tomorrow they're activating the Keys, Dry Tortugas. Yeah, tomorrow. So I'm gonna try to get that one because I was trying to go activate that back in December before the whole national parks thing came up. So, last questions before Ray shuts us off.
All right, thanks.